Maybe challenge yourself to try one new food weekly. So whether that's going up the grocery store aisles to find something you've never tried before, a cool seasonal vegetable that you haven't ever seen before, a cool type of dried bean, or maybe just a different spice. Hit me, Producer Potts.
Dr. Sarah, you have some amazing videos talking all about the health benefits of dietary diversity. And this is also something you've covered really well in your book that I personally appreciated. For us beginners, how many different foods per week would be a good starting goal? And can we count all foods or just whole foods?
I love this question. So, dietary diversity is probably the most important feature of a healthy diet. So, my favorite study, which doesn't really answer this question, but is a great illustration of just how important dietary diversity is a 2022 study that had data from nearly 500,000 study participants in 9 European countries, which showed that people who had the most diverse diet, they were consuming 81 or more different species per year, had a 37% reduced risk of all-cause mortality, an indirect measure of overall health and longevity, compared to the people with the least diverse diets, which was 48 or fewer different species over the course of a whole year. There are many other studies that have measured dietary diversity in other ways and shown similar results. And the reason is when you eat a wide variety of food, you are getting a wider variety of nutrients, so there's just a lower chance that you have an important nutrient shortfall. And high dietary diversity protects you from overdoing something that maybe isn't good for you in excess, like too much sodium, too much added sugars, too much saturated fat, or too much of food additives. So, how much per day or per week? We definitely need more studies to narrow this down to be very certain, but I think a very strong case can be made for aiming for about 35 different foods per week. That sounds like a lot, but I promise you are probably closer to that than you realize. And to answer your question specifically, Producer Potts, about what foods count, look, any way we can mix it up is beneficial. Swapping out an orange carrot for a purple carrot, like to me, that counts as adding dietary diversity because I am getting a different collection of phytonutrients from those two different colored carrots, even though they're both coming from carrots. So the way I track my dietary diversity is by counting any like whole food or whole food based ingredient that I'm eating at least a serving of, like cumulative throughout the week. So if I'm eating ice cream, I'm going to count milk. If I'm eating trail mix, I'm going to count the pecans and the walnuts and the peanuts and the almonds and the dried cranberries and the raisins. So my recommendation, if 35 feels intimidating, first of all, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can build up to that higher dietary diversity level slowly over time. But second is to just sit down with a piece of scratch paper and write down all of the ingredients in the meals that you ate last week. If you ate a salad, write down each component of your salad. If you made a stir fry, write down each aspect of what was in your stir fry. And chances are really good you are closer to that 35 different foods per week than you think.
Thank you for clearing that up for me. Okay, so what are some easy tips we can use to start increasing our dietary diversity?
So one thing is the really easy swaps. A different variety of apples, but a type of apple you still like. The different color of carrot, a different variety of lettuce. So you're making the same meals, but you're making it with a slightly different option of the main ingredients that are going into that meal. Another way is to think of slightly farther apart swaps, but like it still plays the same overall role in your meal. So like if you're looking to make some steamed vegetables and you always make steamed broccoli, maybe mix it up with some steamed cauliflower or carrots, or maybe one of those frozen veggie mixes that has broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots in it. I love spring salad mixes for the variety. A lot of those will have 5, 6, or 8 different types of greens in them. And frozen vegetable mixes make it so easy. Whether you're steaming those vegetables, roasting them, adding them to a stir fry, adding them to a soup, like you've got so many different options of different vegetable mixes, and they're frozen, they're pre-chopped, and they're ready to go. But we don't need to just rotate through vegetable and fruit choices. We can be trying different grains. If you always make brown rice to have as your starchy side dish, maybe try wild rice or quinoa or amaranth. We can rotate through our protein sources, not always beef and chicken, but maybe mixing it up with some lamb or salmon or tofu. Herbs and spices count here. So just trying out a different seasoning blend, you can count all of the herbs and spices in that seasoning blend, provided you're getting about a tablespoon of those herbs and spices cumulative throughout the week. And then there's lots of ways to try out new foods, which I think is a great way to diversify our diets. Try going to a local farmer's market. You're almost certainly going to find varieties of fruits and vegetables that you are not familiar with. Or a local cultural market. It's a great place to find new to you foods. Maybe challenge yourself to try one new food weekly. So whether that's going up the grocery store aisles to find something you've never tried before, a cool seasonal vegetable that you haven't ever seen before, a cool type of dried bean, or maybe just a different spice. One of the things that I like to do for mixing up vegetable variety specifically is what I think of as one of each shopping. So instead of making a giant batch of steamed green beans as our side vegetable, I'll grab a few different things that take the same amount of cooking time as those green beans, but grab a smaller amount of each. So I might still grab some green beans, but also maybe some asparagus, maybe some snow peas. Maybe I'll add some carrots and I'll steam them all together. And then, of course, just getting used to rotating the foods on your grocery list. So instead of always having the same snack foods or the same leafy vegetables in your salad, the same go-to fruits to have with your breakfast, just be intentional. I grabbed strawberries last week, so I'm going to grab blackberries this week. I had trail mix last week, so maybe I'll try some toasted soybeans this week. And if there's something that you just don't like, you don't have to eat it again. The point of increasing dietary diversity is not to make you miserable or blow your grocery budget out of the water. So stick to options that you enjoy, that you have relatively easy access to, and that you can afford.
Again, blowing my mind with all these really accessible, practical tips. Thank you so much. If someone wants to really nerd out and learn more about dietary diversity, what's your best resource?
My best resource is the section on why that's important in my book, Nutrivore, which also has a lot of food lists in it so that you can understand what belongs to what food family and maybe get inspired to try some new foods. And my book also includes the Nutrivore Weekly Serving Matrix, which is the best way to keep track of dietary diversity. But if you would rather, you can also get the Nutrivore Weekly Serving Matrix as a purely digital product from my website, Nutrivore.com.